Do you know too much? No, this is not a James Bond interrogation scene. I'm legitimately asking, how much do you know about comics? And is there a point when knowing too much can be a bad thing? A gentleman came into the antique shop today and we had a chat, and he was going through the back bins and he had a list, and he was going down the list and trying to see if I had them, and I did have a bunch of them. They were like $5 and $10 keys, and he said to me, "Oh man, I was hoping to snag these for $1." He insinuated that I know everything and that nothing really gets past me, and I'm not really letting the $10 books go for $1 because I know comics. And I always thought that was a good thing, and so we were kind of joking about it like, wait, is that a problem that I know what this stuff is? So we kind of had a brief conversation about, like, is there a downside to knowing everything? You can't know everything. The most seasoned, read every single comic book ever dude ever in this history of collecting isn't going to know everything. I learn something new every day still. It is getting to the point where I am a walking price guide. I am kind of a very aware person of what things are, what runs are good, what runs are bad, what characters first appeared and died and what issues. And I think if you do this for a solid 10 years, you'll be exactly the same. You know what I'm talking about, where you know your stuff. You can go flea marketing and you don't need an app, you don't need anything. You know what's what and you can get it. I always thought that my knowledge helped me, and of course it does. Being that knowledgeable in this hobby is a huge benefit, but you will never know it all. You won't, and I'm sorry. And that's a good thing, I think, because being able to have a hobby where you're still learning all the time makes it fun. I don't think there can be another hobby to this magnitude, which is this fun. Train collecting, Hummel plate collecting, stamp collecting, anything with a lot of history is going to be a lot of fun, but comics, there's so much, and it's so vast, and it's now like 100 years old. There's so much richness there that it's impossible to get your hands on all of it. But if you know your comics really well, does that scare away deal hunters, 50-cent bin and dollar bin hunters out there? And I will say, as a seller, like, if I do know that something's like a solid $10, $15 book, you know what? It's not going to be in my dollar bins. I apply that knowledge and I can pluck those out in time and make more money back in my pocket, as anyone with the knowledge will do. But does that mean I have less good dollar bins than other places? I personally don't think so. I specifically sometimes stock my dollar bins with spicy stuff in there to have those moments where people go, aha! But it's different when it's a choice versus an accident. Hell, every Christmas and sometimes even Halloween, I just give away thousands of dollars to kids. That's not an accident, it's a choice. A truly seasoned and aware comic hunter, reader, and seller is going to make sure that it's a well-rounded experience if he does have customers. For example, my entire antique shop, pretty much everything is $1 unless it's a key. But are people going to get like $50 books for just $1? It's not going to happen. Yard sales and flea markets is of course going to be your best avenue for that stuff. Still, if you ever want to find crazy finds, it's going to be there. Most comic book shops, most eBay sellers, most Instagram buyers, even Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace sellers, they know what they've got for the most part, or a well enough idea about it. So being too knowledgeable will reward you in the end. It's better to be knowledgeable about your inventory than to be giving away stuff for pennies. Dollar bin hunters aren't going to have as luck with you as they would some old lady who advertised a yard sale. Now, I wanted to talk about another way that too much knowledge can be too much, or maybe a little annoying. I'd like to talk to you about a guy I call Mr. Nostalgia. This person comes in all shapes and sizes, and I usually run into these types of people like once every 2 weeks, and it's basically old heads that talk about, well, this, stuff used to be priced like this back in the day. And that's because they have all this knowledge and they know the comics so well, but it's outdated knowledge. There are still guys I run into all the time that are quoting prices from like 20, even like 30-year-old prices at me. Like, yeah, I'm sorry. The first appearance of Gambit is not a $20 book. And as I try to explain, like, we are on the down of a market right now. I'm seeing most prices back to what they were in 2018, many prices even lower than that. But these old heads with outdated too much knowledge come in and they see those prices, which are priced incredibly low, and say, oh, well, that's not the same price it was in 1988. You're right about that, sir. I don't really think it counts as having all this knowledge if it's outdated. So that's one of the things when you leave a hobby, you have to remember that all those bits of knowledge that you had might be outdated if you rejoin the hobby in 20, 30, 40 years. I've made this channel to be a huge supporter of knowledge. Educate yourselves. Don't get caught slipping. Don't get caught with a really bad deal. Don't get completely screwed over at a con. All that stuff is really good and happens when you educate yourself. Being knowledgeable is always going to come out on top. And yes, if you do become a seller and you do know your inventory and you're not giving it away for a buck, you're being smart. So yeah, you might be scaring away the dollar bin hunters, but it's for the best, man. True comic book lovers, readers, hunters, all that good stuff, know one thing. Even if you get out of the hobby for a little bit, you're probably coming back. This is the best there is, especially with movies popping up all the time, games coming out. It's such a rich community that we've got, and you can spend your entire life learning the awesomeness that surrounds it, and it's fun. It's a little dorky, maybe even really dorky, but fun. Stay educated, guys, and keep on hunting. Make sure to come on down to Sentiment Depot's Antiques and Collectibles, located at 238 West Delaware Ave in Pennington, New Jersey. Find so many great books for just $1 and the lowest prices on key comics around. Enjoy a huge selection of graded comics priced up to 20% lower than current fair market value. We are open from Wednesday to Sunday, closed Monday, Tuesday. You got a collection you want to sell? Bring that too. Can't wait to see you there.